Palantir is out here turning the tide of war in Ukraine. This company is not getting talked about enough. The Ukrainian Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine had this to say about Palantir. This is a direct quote. Modern warfare has changed the rules and technology plays a big role in it. Cooperation with Palantir is of great importance to us, as it will help us strengthen our army and defeat the enemy as soon as possible, said the Minister Fedorov. We just got word that Palantir CEO Alex Karp visited Zelenskyy in Ukraine this week, the first Western CEO to do so since the invasion began. And I don't think it's out of the question to assume that Palantir has been perhaps involved and helping the Ukrainian government and military. I've been reading some pretty crazy speculations that don't seem out of the question considering what Palantir does. Obviously, we know this is a company that works with the government and the military. They've got high defense clearance levels. I think they're IL-6. It's not out of the question to assume that Palantir's technology may have actually been helping the Ukrainians and the Ukrainian army to fight off these Russians and maybe even turning the tide of the war. We know Palantir, their technology, has been involved in vaccine rollouts and helping companies with logistics and solving all these issues. You know, Palantir is a company that every company they work with government agencies as well as commercial companies now. They make every company they touch better, right? So Palantir, what they do in essence is help these companies that have loads and loads of data that they can't really, in an organized fashion, utilize efficiently or effectively. Palantir's technology helps them to do so. And they also have their Apollo segment, which enables their technology to work in places that didn't used to be possible. For example, a war zone, like we're seeing in Ukraine. What's the first thing Russia tries to do? Jam communications, shut down the internet. You know, because if you cut comms, you can only hold out for so long without an organized effort. And that was what Russia's game plan was. And had they succeeded, they probably would have steamrolled through Ukraine much quicker. And that's why this war is dragging on, because it hasn't worked out that way, because the Ukrainians have been able to mount this organized defense and they're more and more getting on the offensive, it seems like. But I really think that things like Starlink from Elon Musk and possibly even Palantir may be turning the tide of this war and making it, extend longer than we thought possible, right? When Russia first invaded, they sure thought, the Russians, that this was going to be over quick. They were going to capture Ukraine. They were going to capture Kiev. They were going to install a puppet government and be in and out of there, blitzkrieg style. That has not come to pass. And, obviously a lot of credit has to go to the Ukrainians, who are absolutely courageous and incredible. They're really willing to fight to the last man and woman here, it seems like. But, if we look at what we know from this meeting, Alex Karp, the eccentric CEO of Palantir, met with the country's president and other leaders to discuss defense cooperation and the opening of an office for the data analytics company in the war-torn country. I would not put it out of the question to think that Palantir has already been working with them, and maybe now this is just official, but they do a lot of behind-the-scenes action. We know, again, they have the high-level clearance. We know that the U.S. military, were involved in helping the Ukrainians, whether it's through the supply of arms and whatever else is going on behind closed doors here. Zelenskyy came out and said that he's, very happy that Palantir is ready to invest in Ukraine and help them in the fight against Russia on the digital front line. Obviously, Russia's all about cyber warfare here, and odds are there's probably a lot Palantir can do to help them on that front. But I was also reading some very interesting things. When you invade a country, you look at a blitzkrieg, their goal, obviously, a lot of aerial bombings and stuff, but if you don't have something to stop the tanks, it's over. Like, tanks will just steamroll through your whole country. That's what happened in the Blitzkrieg in World War II and why France fell so quickly. If you can't stop these tanks, there's not much you could do. But if you can stop the tanks, which I think surprisingly to the whole world, and definitely the Russians who are getting their T-80s blown up constantly, some people are speculating that it might actually be Palantir's technology that is enabling the Ukrainians to find where all these Russian tanks are and decapitate them, right? Because if you could stop the tanks, you can dig in, you can fight a prolonged war. It's much harder for them to push through. If you can stop their tanks, you're vastly going to limit their progress. So I think Palantir is probably doing a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that we don't know about, that we probably will never know about. It's possible. I don't know for sure, but now we know that they are definitely looking to help Ukraine on the digital front line in that war against Russia, which we know Russia is always on the doing cyber attacks. Russian cyber attacks we know preceded their invasion, and they continue to try and use it to jumble the network. So Palantir is really helping to reinforce Ukraine's military, I think, here in the cyberspace, and probably also, maybe through communications and other areas as well, and being able to organize a better defense here. And Palantir also had a tweet. They said they were honored to take part in the talks about the war and collaboration and the pivotal role of software to Western security. Now, this is another thing that I think is incredible about Palantir. While many other companies are just out to make as much money as possible and do business in any country, Palantir has straight up come out and said they are allied with Western democracies, primarily the United States and our allies. They will not do business with Russia. They will not do business with China. So if Palantir's technology is all that it really seems to be, and as I said, we're seeing more and more, these government contracts, they keep getting more. They keep coming back. The U.S. Army has multi-million-dollar contracts that they keep renewing with them. And now they've even moved into the private space or public commercial type companies, because everyone can stand to benefit, it seems, from Palantir's technology, right? Everyone who uses their software, they're able to help them, get through their data more efficiently and save a ton of money, right, by operating more efficiently with Palantir's software. And then when you throw in something like Palantir Apollo, which is probably solving the issue that we're seeing, again, when a country's invaded, the first thing Russia has tried to do is jam their comms, and they tried to do this beforehand too. If Palantir Apollo is able to create a continuous delivery system to the soldiers in the field and the government to keep the communications open, this is a complete game changer, because without that, it would absolutely crumble. Palantir is out here helping Western democracies, NATO, the United States. Palantir is making commercial S&P 500 companies, saving them tons of money, helping the United States government and military. Palantir was largely responsible for a lot of the successful rollouts of the vaccines in Britain and other countries. And now Palantir is out here turning the tide of war in Ukraine, defeating Russia. This is such an incredible company that truly does not get talked about enough. It's worth a deeper look, I think. We're going to be talking about a lot more Palantir in the days and weeks to come. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments below. If you know anything about, what Palantir is doing over there, if you have any of your own idea of what you think they might be up to behind the scenes, let us know in the comments below. This is Vinny from the Investment Club, and I'll see you next time.